Hello and welcome to the Awareness Factory, the place where we look critically at what is going on in the world right now. And today I have some great breaking news for you, some very promising news. There was an important constitutional victory in Austria. And I'm going to show you what the Constitutional Court of Austria has decided in this case and tell you everything you need to know about it. I think it's very promising what has happened there. Before we do that though, if you enjoy this type of content, please support our work by liking, sharing and subscribing, and also hit the notification button so that you don't miss out on the content that appears here. Without further ado then, let's look at the decision of the Constitutional Court of Austria. Dr. Michael Brunner from the organization Lawyers for Fundamental Rights in Austria came out with the sensational news on October the 29th, 2020, when he finally received a judgment by the Austrian Constitutional Court from October the 1st. And in this very interesting ruling, the Austrian Constitutional Court declared several measures that we are going to look at in detail of the first lockdown, specifically the provisions of the so-called successor regulations, which are also called now the relaxation regulations in Austria, to be unconstitutional. So let's look in detail at what the Austrian Constitutional Court has declared unconstitutional, what the implementations of these decisions are, and most interestingly, why the court was forced to declare those measures unconstitutional. Which measures were then declared overturned in a legally binding way by the Austrian Constitutional Court? First, the entry ban for restaurants and independent car washes that are not connected to a petrol station. This was unconstitutional according to the court. Secondly, restrictions on the admissions of groups of visitors to restaurants to a maximum of 4 adults if they do not share a household. Thirdly, prohibition of events with more than 10 people, which affected concerts and other events and also discotheques and nightclubs. Fourth, mask requirement in public spaces in closed rooms. And they also repealed a provision of the so-called relaxation ordinance, now called the measures ordinance for the virus that shall not be named, which was still in force with the mandatory observance of a minimum distance between the serving places in restaurants that was ordered to be at minimum of 1 meter between the tables. This was ruled as unconstitutional as well. And in the case of all provisions and measures that were recognized as illegal, the reasoning by the court for the decision was the following. Namely, that the files submitted to the Constitutional Court by the government agencies did fail to provide evidence of factual circumstances on the basis of which the competent authorities consider the respective measure to be necessary. The court clarified in its decision that the authorities completely omitted to provide the evidence which led to their decisions. So they completely omitted to show the scientific facts and which facts they have weighed up on which they based their decisions. And this is the reason why the Austrian Constitutional Court had to rule this way, namely that these measures are overturned, effective as of immediately, in a legally binding way because they are illegal. And this judgment leads also to concrete possibilities for all entrepreneurs in Austria to file claims for damages against the Republic of Austria. And in my opinion, this is reason for hope for the rest of the world. There are similar legal challenges on their way in many other countries and states. And as far as I can see, the problems there are similar, namely that the governments did not provide sufficient evidence, scientific facts to justify these measures, and they also didn't respect the constitutional basic rights. So I'm hopeful that a lot of the constitutional courts in other countries where those challenges are on their way will rule similarly to the Austrian Constitutional Court. One famous challenge, which is right now on its way, is from Canada, where constitutional lawyer Rocco Galati is suing the local and federal governments as well as leading officials on behalf of plaintiffs for the unconstitutionality of the government measures. And also more and more constitutional lawyers and former judges have started to speak out about the unconstitutionality of these measures. So let's hope that this is a good sign for things to come. Let's hope that the tide is slowly turning and that we look for solutions that protect the vulnerable while permitting the unaffected to live a normal life, solutions that are fact-based, evidence-based, and that work. As we can see from the recent events or the demonstrations all over Europe, people have had enough of the lies, the manipulation, the measures taken by the governments which are not backed by convincing scientific evidence, as we have seen in previous presentations, and which cause more potential harm than the benefits they could possibly provide when it comes to physical and mental health as well as the economy, as we have seen from expert opinions and studies in our last presentation. And also, while I understand the frustration of the people in Italy and Spain, where demonstrations have turned partially violent over the weekend, I would suggest that legal challenges, like this one from Austria, and peaceful protests have a much higher chance of achieving a chance than violence. And also, don't believe for a moment that this is the end of it. And remember, never let yourselves be discouraged. Humanity depends on you. With all that being said, I hope that you've enjoyed this short presentation and that I could give you some hope. If you did so, please like, share and subscribe, and also comment below. And do not forget to hit the little bell icon, the notifications button, so you don't miss out on future content. Until next time, stay aware and always think for yourself critically.